What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Unlimited Podcast, where we help you maximize your creativity. I'm Izzy Lemons. We've got a special episode today, so let's get into it. Hey, welcome to the Unlimited Podcast. Again, I'm Izzy Lemons. Thank you so much for joining today. Look, we have a special episode, but I'll tell you about that in just a second. If it's your first time listening, thank you so much for joining. Look, I appreciate your time, your trust with your creative gifts. I promise it won't feel like a waste of time. You're definitely going to leave here with something. And everything we do here at Unlimited Artistry is to help you maximize your creativity by helping you to understand your purpose and unifying your identity with God's word. And then we uncover your creative identity, which helps us to uncap our creative potential. And all of that leads to a state of unlimited artistry. Okay. So with that being said, I love to have conversations with just super influential and amazing creative people. And that is one person who we have here today. And that would be Jeheiel JuiceBox Smith. Y'all, we had a great conversation and you're going to be able to hear some of that. Jeheiel is one of the greatest and one of the youngest guys that's out here doing like really great things for music and for the kingdom of God. Jeheiel is a multi-instrumentalist, a producer, a music director, an arranger, y'all, sound designer. Like, he does it all. And he's just an amazing guy with an amazing heart. And he does it all for the kingdom of God. So Jeheiel agreed to come through and have a conversation, and y'all get to experience this right here, right now. This is the first ever interview on the Unlimited Podcast. So check it out. My brother.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I appreciate you so much for being here, for coming on to the Unlimited Podcast and giving out like just the multitude of wisdom that you have stored up in that mind, bro. Like, you're, to me, I know you said a little bit earlier, like we were talking about how you had heard about me before, but dude, I had been watching you for like a number of months. No. It was actually a couple of years before I got the chance to meet you. And I had seen like some of your work with J4, and I'd seen the stuff that you had been doing with Will McMillan, and like just the tracks and videos that you had posted. I'm like, yo, this dude is out of his mind. Like, where do you get this? So, man, it's truly an honor to have someone of your caliber here, and being able to deliver the wisdom that you have to others, man. Like, it is greatly appreciated. So welcome. I'm going to shut up in a second, but could you please tell people, who is Jeheiel JuiceBox Smith?
Oh man. Well, that was a lovely introduction. Thank you for that. But man, yeah, it is Jeheiel Smith. I am a producer, musician, composer, arranger. Just kind of doing music full time. Creative. I love to just work and then just create things. It's great when those things are being prepared for something greater, but if not, then that's fine. I'll just create it anyways. But no, I'm basically, just like I said, just a musician, a producer, a leader. Fortunately, been blessed to have some leadership opportunities and everything, and I'm just working towards my goals and everything, and of course, trying to fill out all the purpose that God has for me, And yeah. Yes, sir.
Man. If you don't mind me asking, you my brother, how old are you, bro?
I am 20. I'm 20 as of recording this. Next month I'll be 21. But as of right now, I'm 20.
21. Okay. Dog, like you've accomplished so much in the first 2 decades of your life. And they say that your most impactful years don't happen until you're like 50s and up. So like I'm just excited to see what happens then and everything in between. So just thinking about time, like what was your journey like to get to where you are now? Like, what do your beginnings look like?
Man, well, it started out. I remember my parents would always tell me stories of how they were listening to Fred Hammond when I was in the womb and everything. And, I definitely think that wasn't an accident. I don't think that had nothing to do with where I am now. Music has always been a safe haven for me and just my thoughts and everything. Because, you said it last podcast, our minds be moving a million miles a minute. And so, music is definitely one of those things, not to get too like deep into it, but it's definitely one of those things that just helps you translate what's going on in the psyche and everything. So my whole family is musical in one facet or another. I think all of my siblings play something. My mother and father, they both sang. And actually, my grandmother, who just recently passed, but when I was a child and she lived in Salisbury, I would go to her house. She had a piano there. At my other grandparents' house, they had a Wurlitzer there actually, which I'm hopefully about to refurbish. Don't quote me on that. But they had a Wurlitzer that I would play around on, and just at my church, there was a community of people that just wanted to see me get my hands wet in that whole field. So thankfully, I can say that I've been surrounded by music my whole life, but I'm also thankful to say that it wasn't the traditional sense either. It wasn't. I think it was my own story, and I think I'm the way I am now because of that. And I used to look back, a few years ago and be like, man, I wish I was here. I wish I was there. But when I consider everything that happened in my life and how it led to where I am now, I'm just extremely grateful to God for just first of all letting me live to see it.
Yeah.
And then also just being faithful enough to help me find a sense of worth in myself. Again, not to get too like deep into it, but it's like, I feel like my identity is found in Him. And I feel like everyone's true identity is found in Him, regardless of what you may or may not think. So I'm just 1,000% grateful just to God for everything that has transpired.
Man, yeah. Thank you for all of that. You just answered one of my next questions was how significant is God's word to what you do? Like just based on what you just said, like it's your entire identity. And I think that is super key to us as creatives in the kingdom of God. Like we can't create for God if we don't know who God is and who God says we are. So like that's super key. And I loved hearing about your start and just being surrounded by music and trying different things and being able to get your hands and your feet wet because you were surrounded. And I do hope that you do refurbish that Whirly. And when you do, I would love to to stop by.
Right here, trust me.
Yeah.
Man, that's on the way.
That's gonna be so crazy, bro. How many different instruments do you play? Because I've seen you play a number of instruments, and I just found out about one not too long ago.
Oh God, which one did you find out about?
Trumpet.
So funnily enough, trumpet was actually one of my first instruments.
Okay.
And I had put it down, but I'm slowly kind of picking that and other things back up. I play trumpet, piano, guitar, bass, drums, That's the regular stuff. And then you have I studied saxophone for a while.
Wow.
In middle school, I played French horn. I wanted to get into trombone, but God had other plans. And I have a violin down here, and I have a clarinet down here. And when the margin allows for it, I want to learn how to play those as well.
Oh man.
And I think the main thing with that is that it helps me get into my composer bag, because it helps me to understand all that stuff. And honestly, I'm trying to dive deeper into it. So that's that's kind of why that's why I'm trying to learn these right now.
Oh my goodness, man! I played violin for like less than 6 months. I moved counties and was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not trying to do this. I need something a little bit different."
Yeah.
So what you're basically saying is like you're Prince.
Say that. If you really wanted to, you make that comparison. I can see how you would. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I don't know what to say. It's an honor to be compared to such a legend. But yeah. It's free to draw that comparison if you like.
It's well deserved, man, for sure. So like, you know how to play all of these instruments. How much time on a weekly basis, like out of 168 hours, how much time do you put towards like your craft and learning new instruments and trying new ideas and things like that?
I'll be super transparent with you. It used to be a lot more. And what I found over the years, well, first of all, to answer your question, I would say probably right now, I try to spend at least 1 hour a day learning something new. And if it doesn't happen, then I try to find meaning in the rest of my life. But the crazy thing is, I definitely spent a lot more time when I was younger trying to learn. And for the most part, for most of these instruments, I'm actually self-taught. And what I found happens is you find relationships between the instruments, and that actually helps you learn faster. I tell anyone who comes to me is like, I play drums, but I want to learn bass. I play bass, but I want to learn keys. I always tell them, if you just do a little bit and then you go back to your first instrument, you will find so much more hidden gems in that instrument. And then you'll come back to your first instrument, or you'll go to the other instrument and you'll be like, keep making connections. So I think that's what happened to me. I can't sit here and tell you that I spent like 24 hours, 25/8 just learning the trumpet, because that's just not true.
Right.
Thankfully, because I played the piano and the trumpet at the same time, I was able to draw connections. And then when I learned French horn, it's fingering wise, it's in a different key, but you figure out the different connections between them. And saxophone was a mess. It draws no connections to either of those instruments. Yeah. But yeah, that's what. Learn. I'm not going to sit here and say that learning instruments is easy, but it gets easier. And so I haven't spent as much time I used to, but again, I'm hoping to get back into that bag very soon.
Bro, that is so rich. Like what you said about everything connecting. It's true, because they're all supposed to work in relation to each other, like in the context in which we hear them, which is in music. Exactly. And so you said you're self-taught. I believe that's one of the things that connects us as well. Like just being able to have the freedom at a young age to experiment with different things and stick our hands in it and just kind of, just feel it out based on what we've heard. But my question is, how did you learn to take ideas from your head to your hand? Like, because I see you do it almost seamlessly.
Man, well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that because, and I'm about to answer your question, because it has been a journey. That is a real thing. Yeah. I remember being in high school. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts. Whoop whoop.
Yeah.
I always have love for my school. But I remember distinctly being in high school and being frustrated because I didn't know how to do that yet. And so I would say, honestly, it comes with time, and it honestly comes with prayer, because like I said, there was a period of time I couldn't get it to happen, and honestly, I'm still learning how to do it. But the greatest musicians will tell you that that's pretty much what's going on. Is just a translation from the head to the hands, or to the feet, or however you play your instrument. That's basically what the process is, and be good at that makes you that much better at your instrument. And oftentimes when I see someone who's inexperienced, it's because they're not doing that, if that makes sense. So it comes with time, it comes with experience, it comes with really sitting down and honestly asking God, like, to give you the ideas, because 9 times out of 10 they come from him. I remember when I was in high school, I used to spend 30 minutes an hour at the piano whenever I had time, just playing and singing at the same time, singing what I was playing what I was singing, vice versa, so that the head and the hands became that much more connected. And I would venture so far as to say the heart in the hand, because a lot of it is an expression of the heart and everything, things of that nature. You already know. So that's honestly that's come to be, and grateful for the fact that it's become that, because for a long time it wasn't.
Wow. So like it's a spiritual thing. Like when you connect with God, you know that what you're receiving is right in the moment. And so you have to, what I hear you saying is you have to build up that, I guess that muscle to be able to translate it from hearing what God is humming to you, whatever ideas he's given to you, to be able to get them to your hands. But even practically, it comes with being able to know what you're doing while you're doing it.
Exactly.
Singing.
Yeah. There is I'm about to misquote this, I think. But there's that alliteration quote that preparation prevents poor performance, or whatever that is.
Piss poor something. Yeah, that thing.
Whatever that quote is very, 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 very true and very real. Because if I was actually saying this in an Inspire at Union Church Holler. Saying this there, but it's like, if you don't know fundamentally what's going on here, then when it gets to this stage, there's only but so far that you can venture out, because you haven't built the foundation yet. So that's really what it is, a foundation. And it's like, once you build that, it becomes so much easier to do everything else that's on your mind.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome, man. And speaking of Union Church, I've seen you. I've had the opportunity to be able to lead worship with you in contexts like Catalyst, where things just can kind of go left at any moment. And so I guess my question for everybody else would be, how do you prepare? Like, what does your preparation practically look like for a situation like that? Like, how are you practicing? What are you doing, like, to get ready for that?
That's a good question. When I think about, and fortunately, it always I know that I'm doing the right things, because it ends up going the way it's going. But to just prepare my heart and everything, I know one of the most important steps is getting yourself in that mode. If you're not even thinking about it, like, let's say that you're bipping on the way to Union Church for Catalyst, and you're bumping Jay-Z the whole way, there's gonna be a little bit of a disconnect. At minimum, because you haven't put yourself in that mode. So I remember there was a Catalyst, and you were there. It was the day that I got my brand new car. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
But I was running egregiously late. And had it not been for the fact that I was listening to the right things on the way there, I know that I wouldn't have even been in that mode. So it was a combination of just gratitude for God just providing, and then also just putting myself in that mindset. And it's just like, you really have to reflect on the things that are important when you're in that type of setting. And doing that helps center your mind, center your heart, really just doing whatever you can. Because honestly, it's the circumstances are not always going to allow you to be as prepared as you might like to be, but just doing what you can and then letting God fill in the rest of the gaps, I think, is some of the most important stuff. And then aside from that, just practicing the music, of course, which I think is the answer that a lot of people just want me to say. But no, it's I mean, just practicing the music, practicing a lot of what you think Catalyst would turn out to be, or any worship setting like that. Practicing that at home helps it to translate so much better. I can't tell you how many times that I've played something at Catalyst that I had already thought about or already played. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's a huge part of it as well. I would just say practicing from a practical standpoint, it just helps.
Absolutely. Wow, man. That's awesome. So to you, like what is worship?
That's it.
It's like really deep.
What is worship? That's a loaded question, because worship it means multiple things. But actually within the past year, I've really pondered on what worship really like. And first and foremost, it's serving God. It's serving God because he's worth it. And so it actually goes far, far, far beyond just playing and ministering on your instrument or just singing. Is more than singing to God. Is letting God know that your impact on my life and you creating me warrants me carrying out your will in the earth, because you deserve it. You know what I mean? So at its core, I think that's what worship is. When we sing and play to God, I think that's an expression of that. The same way that music is an expression of anything. But I think that when you're in that context, it is really special, because you're letting God know that through the gifts that you gave me, I'm going to pour back out to you. And the idea is that when I do that, other people follow suit, and someone who may not even know who you are comes to fall into a deep relationship with you because of what you put inside of me.
Yeah, that's good. That's really rich. I think another part of that, in my mind, is like when we look back at Leviticus and it talks about like the process of worship. So like they would have to go get a certain type of grain, or a certain type of bird or whatever it was, like to sacrifice at the altar. I think when it comes to our creative gifts, I think worship is even like it has to do with our practice too. Like the time that we put into the prepreration, like as you were speaking on, just like being able to sacrifice other things to say, I'm gonna build this gift up that God has placed in me, so that I'm not just walking around sounding like trash, like honestly, and just not growing in that sense. It's like it's stewardship as well. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, man. Yeah, preparation is a huge part of it.
My goodness.
You know what I mean? The preparation is what, because God sees that as well. And honestly, the preparation is, I think, what God uses to say, not only are you proficient and you're using the gift that I gave you, but you're taking the time to cultivate that gift. Like you were saying, I think you said it even last podcast, the talents that he gave the people was like, it's all about what you do with those in tandem with just what he's given you innately. You know what I mean? So definitely a combination of those things.
100%. Yo, you in the beginning, you said, that sounded really like the first sentence of the Bible in the beginning. No, but when we started our conversation, you had mentioned you called yourself a leader, and I see you as that 100%. And I've noticed that there are people around you that it seems like you invest in the lives of creatives around you.
Yeah.
How do you continually surround yourself like with people of your same caliber? Like you've got people like Jason and Jordan, like both Jordans. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. Like the people that are around you, and you lead everyone. And I've heard you tell stories about like how you've grown with your people, with your team, and like how you've led. Like I've seen you lead in certain situations, and I think it's amazing. Like, how do you get to a point like that?
Man, that's a great question. Because once again, I remember a point in time where I couldn't say that that was the case, and I'm just grateful for not only being surrounded with people to lead, even from a peer standpoint, but also people who have taught me how to lead. Like when Union was still Destiny, well, even before that, when Destiny Road, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Destiny Road, but it was led by Jonathan Ball.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan Ball recruited a lot of young teenagers and children at the time, and built them up to be able to inspire them to carry out their own artistry and everything. So he brought a lot of us together, and when the time was right, and the seed had been planted, he actually offered me a position at Destiny Church. And at Destiny Church, there were a host of people who were cultivating my leadership, between Mandela Simmons, Sean Walters, Corey Kennedy, obviously Pastor Stephen Chandler himself, just so many people that were able to give me first of all, but then also push me to that next level, and never made me feel comfortable. I wasn't comfortable for the longest time, especially because around the time that I started, COVID had hit. And so when we went back, it really was a test of what I've been learning even within that 4-month span, because we opened it back up very early on. Yeah. So even just those 4 months, whatever you learned, how can you apply it to Baltimore County? And thankfully, it has blossomed into something that I can say is a part of my skill set now. And so when it comes to leading people around me, I draw on that a lot. And I draw on what is, kind of always been inside of me. I feel like it just needed the right, people to bring it out. It's like, the right spices will bring the flavor out of a certain dish or whatever. It's kind of like that. I'm not a chef. Please don't use my advice in your dishes. But I say that to say it's just kind of been a process of trial and error, first of all, because I haven't always done the right thing. But then also just God putting me in positions to be able to do that. Even when I think about those people, the people that you named, Joey, Jordan, Jason, is like the way that we all came about being friends and everything, I think is just really special, and just a testament to how God uses time, not only to his glory, but also to our advantage, because it helps us to do the right things in the right seasons and everything. And truthfully, I've known Jordan's family for longer than I can remember, since I was a child. I just didn't know, you know what I mean? So when we formally met, it was, in the right positioning and everything. So just being put in positions to lead. I think if you're truly a leader, then God will do that first. And then once you've been tested, he'll throw you out to the wolves, metaphorically, to be able to lead more intense situations than that. Yeah. And it's working.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so amazing. I truly admire your leadership and the way that I've seen you interact with different musicians and different creatives, and you've ended up in these spaces that I know that you probably wouldn't even expect. And it all starts with those small seeds, like from when you first met the people that you're around now. So that's amazing to hear to me.
Absolutely.
All right, man. We gonna talk shop now.
Okay.
We talking production stuff. All right. Your process. If you could describe your process with one word, what would that one word be?
Oh God, that's another loaded question because one word isn't enough. But if I had to pick one, I would just say, man, give me some time. Really, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up this much time.
No, you good.
If I had to pick one word to describe my creative process, it would be, it's gonna sound kind of funny. It would be raw. That's the word that I keep coming back to. Raw.
Ooh.
And raw in the sense of it has to come out that way. For it to just get out of your head. And with the right tools and with the right knowledge, you can cultivate that into what it's ultimately supposed to be. But if you don't get it out, you were saying this on the last podcast too. Yeah, but no, but yeah, just getting it out. If you don't do that first, then you run the risk of it not ever becoming anything else. Because it could die. I've had a lot of ideas that died in my head, unfortunately, and also died on my phone because I need a better process to get those ideas into something like Logic, where I can expound on them a little bit more. But the ideas that have gotten into Logic, I'm very, very happy to say are actually coming along. But if you heard them when they first started out, you would be just as confused as I am because it's really fascinating to see how that happens. But as far as like my creative process, just getting it out into onto a canvas, I would say very raw, very, very, very raw. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you referenced that, like the importance of stewarding those ideas and like having something to put them down on, because we're not hard drives, we're human beings. Like I'm not gonna remember it, and the longer that we wait to try to reference something in our memory, it alters, like it changes over time. That's something that I've learned recently. So like being able to get that down is super important. Like when you initially have an idea, like now, what do you say? You hear a melody in your head, like what's your first move?
My first move is to go to my voice memos and just sing it. I've been doing that since senior year.
Yes, sir.
And just getting it there, it helps me to know that it exists somewhere else. Which is good. And if it's something that really needs to hear, then I'll actually keep singing it because I can't get it out of my head. So then it'll stay just in my head for the longest time. And then just to build on what I think the foundation might be, I'll put it into a loop in Logic, and then I'll stretch that loop out. And that kind of comes more, that is more the refinement process and everything. But yeah, those initial ideas normally make themselves into voice memos on my phone before anything else. If it doesn't get there and it still gets to Logic, that's legitimately the grace of God, because I don't know how. There's so much stuff going through this mind.
Man, I believe it, and I can hear it through what you do. Like it's amazing. It's a gift, honestly. Like, man, that's awesome to hear how you go from heart to hand, like you said earlier. So like, what does your production desk look like? What are you using? What are your tools? The stuff that you can reveal.
Yeah. Record into Logic 9 times out of 10. I also use Ableton from time to time. That's more for like finished product, live shows, things like that. You know, obviously I have a MacBook Pro that actually I need to tune the specs up on because yes, it's that time. But you know, Apple MacBook Pro, of course, use a Yamaha MoXF8 recording to a Behringer interface. I have this neat little 11 port USB hub that I just recently invested into, and it is extremely useful because I can do so many things with that. When I'm recording video, I have this little gooseneck holder right here. I have JBL monitors. You know, yeah, just from a practical standpoint, that's you know, I have a wonderful Fender bass that I love so much.
Yes, sir.
And my other 3 basses are also there. I'm just I like my basses. They're all great. I use a Yamaha Modi X for audio recording most of the time. This MoXF is a MIDI controller pretty much all of the time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, you know, it's honestly, when you put that all together, it comes out pretty simple. But again, you know, once I restore that Whirly and everything, and, you know, hopefully get an upright piano down here, it can expand to a little bit more about like a legitimate studio space. Where I can just do more things in. But as of right now, it all comes together in a fairly simple package, even though it sounds like a lot of stuff. It's really not. Yeah, I consider this to be the bare bones basics. And then when I want to get a little bit more fancy, I bring my other keyboard down here and everything, and just get to work.
Wow. I feel like just based on, like you said, your to describe your process, you would call your process raw. And to have so many real instruments, I know a lot of producers now like lean on heavily on VSTs and different things. Like,
yeah,
I can tell you, I can count on 2 fingers how many times I've seen a Wurlitzer in person, you know. And the fact that like you're familiar with these different instruments and can pull the real things out and pull the raw emotion that you have within you through those tools. So I think that's really cool. So now, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I think that also contributed to even just the way that my mind works. Like, it wasn't a whole lot of keyboards when I was growing up. It was a lot of real pianos and real electric pianos and, you know, things like that. My one of my old pastors, who was another mentor of mine when I was very young, he brought an actual Rhodes suitcase electric piano to church. Like, wow. It was in the church, and, you know, it wasn't a large church. It wasn't a huge church, but it was, you know, stuff like that is like, who can say that they got a chance to play on a suitcase Rhodes?
Yeah.
From such a young age. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, just different things. You know, fortunately, God has blessed me to be able to do and everything. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Did you learn? Was a lot of what you learned on that Rhodes?
No, it wasn't. A lot of what I learned from a fundamental standpoint, I would say not really necessarily. A lot of what I learned it actually did take place on an actual piano. More likely than not at BSA, because I think that's where I got a lot of my playing acumen up. And even from there, you know, it took a while for me to really get comfortable with that. It really wasn't until I started at Destiny that I got like really, really comfortable with like not playing keys, because, you know, that came sooner than that, but just really understanding how my playing works and everything from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah. Unfortunately, not a lot of time was spent with that Rhodes as I would have liked for there to have been. That's why I want this Wurlitzer thing to work out so badly.
Yeah. Man, I ask because when I hear you play very percussively too. Like, I think that's one of the things that sets your playing apart. One of the many things that set your playing and who you are musically apart. But like, that's just something that I noticed, and so I'm like, okay, that could be possible, but nah. Okay. So we talked about the gear that you have and the gear that you use. what are you looking into? Like, what's the next thing that you want to get that's going to take like those long process tools like to the next level?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that because Roland just came out. They came out with the new revised Phantom keyboard series that they have a few years ago, actually. But recently they have come out with a what would you call that? A downgraded version of that. If the
There's like the flagship and then the one right under that.
exactly, it's like you have your normal Helix and then you have the Helix LT, just to put it into other terms, because I know
you were so familiar with that.
And oftentimes, what people don't realize is that a lot of times those are the better options, because first of all, they're portable.
Yes.
When you have a portable situation, it just makes it that much easier. And you're not sacrificing quality really on any front, because the price tag.
My God.
The price tag is just vastly different. So I would say that's my next big financially, because I had a rolling board, and it was great, and then it wasn't mine, so I had to give it back to the person who owned it.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Once I invest in this, it will definitely, take everything to the next level. Outside of that, what else? What else is a big purchase that would take it to the next level? No, it's the keyboard. I would love to tell you that it's anything else. Maybe some new monitors. I think there's some new monitors are in my near future. But I'll have to think about that one for a second.
I feel that new monitors thing in my soul. I want down the line. It's like a few years down the line. I want some PMCs. I've been hearing talk about them, and I at least I just want to try them before next year. That's my goal for right now.
Yeah.
Just to see what it's like. Yeah
man.
So if you were, now we're gonna slim it down. If you were trapped on an island and you could only bring 3 items with you, what would those 3 items be?
To get work done?
Yes.
MacBook. Jesus. Yeah, Yamaha. My Yamaha board. Bring that for sure. And I guess the last thing would have to be some headphones. Because I can't bring an interface and headphones, because that's 4 things.
That would be fun.
And are we talking cords as well? Because
no. Okay. You'll have all that. A little adapters, a little headphone joints.
Perfect. Okay, yeah.
A lifetime supply of those.
I guess that's all I need. It would be nice to have a stand to put the keyboard on, but that's enough. That's enough. I think keyboard, computer, headphones. I think we'll cut it, to be honest.
Wow. Oh, okay. Simplify it. I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yo, so like the last few things I want to ask you about, like, music apparently was a big part of your life, still is. Like, it's you said you are a full-time musician, right?
Yes, sir.
My God. It's that's so amazing to me. And so it's a huge part of your life. So what 3 records inspire you on a regular, like 3 records that you always go back to for inspiration?
Great question. I would say number 1 is Michael Jackson's Bad. I think Michael Jackson's big 4, Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous.
Yeah.
And then you narrow that down to his big 2, which are Thriller and Bad, of course. And then for Jeheiel, my favorite Michael Jackson album is definitely Bad, because it was a departure from a lot of the stylistic nuances of the first 2 up big for. You know, obviously he had albums before that, but you know,
Yeah.
even when you think about Quincy Jones, and his legacy with Michael, you know, is really those. I would say those three. I don't know how much he had a part in Dangerous, but Bad was definitely, it was a departure from those, and it still had iconic records. And it was just like you heard stuff that I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I don't think that you heard a whole lot of that. And for him to be such a mainstream artist and have that sound so from the norm, I think is really interesting. So there's Bad by Michael Jackson. I would say one of the Toto albums. Probably Toto 4.
Okay.
Toto 4 is iconic. And I love that album. It's a very good album. And then the last one, oh God. Trying to think about what records I would even say, because it's weird, because I was just thinking about this, like, what would I say if someone asked me what my favorite albums are? Because I don't listen to albums, because people don't really put out albums anymore, but it's like, I still listen to them. So if I had to pick one more, and I'm just going to say one because I'm running out of time, I would say that it is, honestly, 24 Karat Magic.
Oh, wow.
24 Karat
okay.
Magic is a great album, and it came out very recently. And I think that it's really interesting. Like, these songs are actually really, really good. And I think despite how well they may or may not have done, well, you know, obviously you had great songs on there that did well, but then I think that all of the songs are good. It's a complete body of work in, you know, an era that doesn't really exist in. So I think it's really dope. And obviously, you know, there are more albums than that, but you told me 3. Those are my 3.
For sure. Dog, I knew that you were going to say a Michael Jackson album. All right. So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of set you up with this question.
Okay.
So 2 questions that were gonna come from this. One, I was gonna ask your favorite era of music, and you kind of alluded to it, and I believe it's the 80s.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, cool. And so with that, I was also gonna bring up my favorite video of yours, which it's an older one. It's like 3 years old at this point, I think.
Oh, wow.
The Off the Wall remix.
Yes.
Dog. Bro. That joint is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it has so much. It's so rich in everything. I've heard you use the term dense. That's what it is. It's dense in the best way possible. Bro, that is my favorite thing that you've done.
Man,
like,
much appreciated, bro.
You put so much into it. I'm going to put the link in the description in this video on the podcast so that everybody can get the same experience that I got from watching this. Cause like, dog, that's amazing. And you mentioned the Dangerous album. Michael Jackson's Dangerous is probably top 2 for Michael Jackson for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm a fan because I enjoy hip hop, like more urban styles of music. And so that seeing him venture into that more, like one could argue like Bad does that too, but I think that he dives all the way in with Teddy Riley on Dangerous.
If he made a slight left turn with Bad, he actually went back the other direction with Dangerous. He just went a completely different direction.
It was full turnaround.
Exactly. A completely different direction for that. But I think, I definitely agree with that. I've heard some criticisms of the Dangerous album that I won't delve into. Mm-hmm. And I won't say whether or not I agree with those. And I love Dangerous as an album. But Bad was just like, especially because you have the same core group of guys really working on both of those records, Thriller and Bad.
Yeah.
Came out with very different outcomes. You know what I mean? You still have the team of Quincy, and I think Rod Temperton was still a part of that Bad album. And, the same guys just decided to say, forget it. And we're going to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really dope. Yeah.
Yo, this conversation has been so life-giving for me, and I know that other people have enjoyed this conversation, will enjoy, I guess, because we're speaking in future tense. But I know that this has been a really enjoyable conversation. And as we close, I just want to know, like, what's on your heart to share with creatives across the entire world, whether it's for now, whether it's from years from now, like, what's one thing? Give us some encouragement, man.
Man, I joke like this, but I always beat it. God, is great, and you should really, you should really, get to know him. If you don't, and if you do, get to know him more, because he's the source, and for your creative life, it cannot, prosper if not for the grace of God and the Spirit of God moving in your life. When I think about the most profound moments of my musical journey, the Holy Spirit has always been there, whether I realized it or not. And so I know for other creatives, that is a huge part of just your comeuppance and everything. So you just getting to know him is just, I think it's, well, not I think, it is the most important thing that you could possibly ever do. And again, for those that already know him, just get to know him more and keep going as well. Keep going, like don't stop. Like, there's so much more that God has for each and every one of us. And all we have to do is really just tap into it. Yeah, I think that's it. One of the reasons why I love this podcast so much is because you rarely ever see anything or anyone really dive into the practicalities of really understanding what it means to not only be a creative and just like very, very attainable goals that will actually take your whole experience to the next level, but then also that help you to understand how God plays a factor and how God is the factor for all of it and everything. So yeah, just find God, man. That's really all I can say. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful experience, and hoping to definitely change lives with everything that's been said on here, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate just all the nuggets that you've been dropping and all the wisdom that's been that you've imparted on us, everyone that will ever listen to this in history. Like, it is truly an honor. And again, like, just to be in proximity to somebody of your caliber, just not just when it comes to creativity, but even as a leader, man. Like, you're truly impactful, and I'm continually praying for your growth, your development, and what God is going to do through you and those who you're able to touch, man. It's truly an honor.
That means so much, man. Again, thank you. The honor is mine. Yours, mine, ours.
The honor is mine. No, man. Thank you so much. Where can we find anything on you? Like, where how do we stay up to date with what Jeheiel is doing?
If you're listening to this before May 2022, then stay tuned, because there's something coming in May 2022 that you're gonna want to be at. It is an event, and I'm preparing for it now.
Let's go.
Late April, early May. Stay tuned. If you're listening to this after that, hopefully I've released some music. Hopefully I've done some bigger stuff. But if you want to catch me now, my Instagram is JuiceBox Music, which is JuiceBox_music. Hopefully you know how to spell all that. Yeah, that's where you can find me. My YouTube channel, which I'll be uploading more to, is Jeheiel Smith, which is JEHEIEL Smith. That's my YouTube channel. Don't worry about my Facebook. Yeah, you can find me there. I'm always just uploading more content on there and everything. And again, if you stay tuned to those platforms, then you will see an album soon or later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to that, bro. Again, thank you so much for this conversation today.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, wasn't that just so amazing? Look, the way that Jeheiel spoke about preparation and even the tools that he used in the spiritual aspect of stewardship over ideas, inspiration, and gifts, like, it was next level. And he talked about these things because they're important to the creative journey. And, it's also important that we have community around us to continue to encourage us and people who are in the same boat as us so that we can encourage each other. And Jeheiel is exactly that. He's one of many creatives that I'm privileged to have a close proximity and close contact with. So truly, it's been an honor having him on and being able for him to share his wisdom and the information that he has stored up. If you agree that this conversation today was next level and even life-changing, one thing that you can do, share this with other creatives that are in your sphere, other people that you know will benefit from the discussion today. We exist so that we can build the kingdom of God. If people don't know about these resources and aren't a part of these conversations, we're leaving people behind. So look, hit share on the podcast, on the video, share the Instagram pages, and follow both of us and stay up to date on everything that we have coming up. I have a question for you. Do you feel like you have information or wisdom that you want to share, whether it's about the creative experience or not? I think a great way to start into doing that and speaking to large audiences is through a podcast. And a podcast is one of the best ways to speak to a mass audience without having to be in the same room. Buzzsprout makes it so much easier for you to distribute your podcast, get all your information out there, and it makes the job so much easier. So look, start your podcast. Sign up for Buzzsprout. There's a special link in the description just for you. Go check it out. Start it today. Like Jeheiel said, you can follow him at JuiceBox Music, JuiceBox_music on Instagram. And you can follow us on Instagram at Unlimited Artistry. And you can visit our website, unlmtdartistry.com. Again, that's unlmtdartistry.com. I told you I'm a musician. I got to make it a little bit rhythmic. There you can share your story. You can find more of our videos and a direct link to the podcast. If you don't have that, you can purchase production services and all that great stuff. Be sure to visit, share. This has been an amazing conversation. Y'all, thank you so much for listening in today. I will see you next time.